It's day 3 of a major power outage. Stores within a 20-mile radius have been picked clean. The rice is gone. The beans are gone. The canned goods are stripped from the shelves. And the freeze-dried survival meals that used to line entire aisles, not a single pouch left. But in the back corner of a small Asian grocery store and on the dusty bottom shelf of a health food shop nobody thought to visit, there's still food. Plenty of it. Affordable, shelf-stable, nutritionally superior to almost everything that just sold out. Most people will never find it because they never knew to look. Right now, there are 11 foods sitting in stores across this country that will still be available long after every conventional prepper staple has vanished. They've survived every panic-buying rush in recent memory. They last years, sometimes decades without refrigeration, and almost nobody is buying them. In this video, we're going to walk through all 11. You'll find out exactly what they are, why they work, how to store them properly, and how to build a serious stockpile on a budget that won't wreck your bank account. By the end, you'll have a completely different picture of what real food security looks like and a clear plan for getting there. Welcome to Crisis Horizon, where we cut through the noise and give you the strategies that actually hold up when things go sideways. If you're new here, hit subscribe right now and tap that bell so you never miss a video. And if this one changes the way you think about prepping, even a little, drop a like. It helps more people find this channel, and it genuinely keeps us going. Now, let's get into it. Here's a question most preppers never seriously ask themselves. What happens if everyone else is prepping the exact same way I am? Think about it. The prepping community runs on shared information. Same blogs, same YouTube channels, same Reddit threads, same survival guides that have been circulating for 20 years. And almost all of them point to the same short list of foods. Rice, beans, canned tomatoes, oats, freeze-dried meals, maybe some pasta if you're feeling adventurous. Now, that list isn't wrong exactly. Those foods do have solid shelf lives. They do provide calories. The problem isn't the foods themselves. The problem is that millions of people have been handed the same exact shopping list. And when a crisis hits, every single one of those people heads to the same stores at the same time to buy the same things. We've seen it happen over and over again. A hurricane warning, a major winter storm, a supply chain disruption, a global pandemic, and within hours, sometimes within minutes, those conventional staples are completely gone. Not just low, gone. Because the system wasn't designed to absorb that kind of simultaneous demand, and when everyone panics in the same direction, the most popular choices always take the hardest hit. What that means for you is this: if your prep plan looks like everyone else's prep plan, then your prep plan has a blind spot, a serious one. Now, here's where things get interesting. While those shelves are being stripped bare, other shelves in the same store and in stores nearby are sitting completely untouched. Foods that are just as nutritious, just as shelf-stable, and in many cases significantly cheaper than the items everyone's fighting over. They're being ignored not because they're inferior, but simply because most people don't know what they are or what to do with them. That's the opportunity, and it's a real one. But there's a second problem with conventional prepping that goes even deeper than the supply chain issue, and it's one that almost nobody talks about honestly. Most prep plans are built entirely around physical survival. Calories in, calories out. Keep the body running. And yes, obviously that matters. If you're not eating enough, nothing is relevant. The issue is that human beings aren't just bodies. We're psychological creatures. We have morale. We have mental states that fluctuate, especially under stress. And one of the fastest ways to break down decision-making, emotional stability, and the ability to function under pressure is prolonged food monotony. Eating the same bowl of plain rice and beans 3 times a day, every day for 2 weeks does something to a person. It sounds almost trivial when things are normal, but in an actual emergency, when stress is already running high, when sleep is disrupted, when the future feels uncertain, bland, repetitive food becomes a genuinely destabilizing force. It affects how you think, how you treat the people around you, how clearly you assess situations. This is something the military has understood for decades. Field rations have always been designed with variety in mind, not just nutrition, because commanders know that a soldier who is fed but demoralized is not an effective soldier. The same principle applies to your family in a crisis. Real food security isn't just about having enough calories stored away, it's about having food that sustains you physically and keeps you mentally sharp and emotionally steady. That's the standard we're building toward in this video, and it changes the list of what actually belongs in your stockpile. Let's start with a category that almost every conventional prep list gets wrong, and that's fat. When you look at most emergency food plans, they're heavily tilted towards carbohydrates: rice, pasta, oats, flour. Those foods have their place, but they leave a critical gap. Fat is not optional in a survival scenario. It's essential for warmth, for energy density, for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins, and for keeping the brain functioning under stress. A diet severely lacking in fat leads to fatigue, cognitive decline, and a breakdown of physical resilience. All things you absolutely cannot afford which is exactly why canned coconut milk deserves a spot in every serious stockpile. One can contains around 50 grams of healthy fats. It requires no refrigeration, and in Asian grocery stores, which you should already know about for reasons we'll get into later, it often costs under $2 per can. You can add it to rice to make it genuinely satisfying. You can use it in soups and stews to dramatically boost calorie density. You can drink it straight if you need to. When you're rationing food, coconut milk is one of the most efficient ways to make a modest portion feel like a real meal. And then there's ghee. If you've never thought seriously about ghee as a survival food, that's about to change. Ghee is clarified butter with the water and milk solids removed, and it has been used as a preserved food for thousands of years across some of the most extreme climates on Earth. Archaeologists have found ghee samples estimated to be 5,000 years old. Stored correctly, it simply does not go rancid. It doesn't need to be refrigerated, and unlike regular butter, it actually develops a richer, more complex flavor over time. From a practical standpoint, a single tablespoon of ghee stirred into a bowl of plain rice elevates it from something you're forcing yourself to eat into something that actually tastes good. That matters more than most people realize when you're on day 9 of eating from emergency stores. Keep it in its original glass jar, store it in a cool, dark place, and it will outlast almost everything else in your pantry. Now let's talk about something that will genuinely surprise a lot of people: bouillon cubes. Most preppers look at bouillon cubes and see a flavoring ingredient, something you toss in if you want your soup to taste better. That's selling them dramatically short. Bouillon cubes are a concentrated source of sodium and minerals that function as genuine electrolyte replacements, which becomes critically important during any emergency where you're exerting yourself physically, potentially sweating more than usual, and working to keep your body properly hydrated. Militaries have used concentrated broths for exactly this reason for a very long time. On top of that, 1 cube makes 2 full cups of broth. They take up almost no space, they last for years when stored properly, and they're essentially invisible during panic buying. Nobody is fighting over bouillon cubes at the supermarket. Pull them out of their cardboard packaging, seal them in an airtight mason jar with a silica gel packet, and they will quietly sit in your pantry, outlasting almost everything else you own. And then there's nutritional yeast, which sounds like something only health food enthusiasts care about, but is actually one of the most useful foods you can stock for long-term resilience. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast deliver 8 grams of complete protein, meaning it contains all the essential amino acids your body can't produce on its own. It's also exceptionally rich in B vitamins, including B12, which is notoriously difficult to get from plant-based emergency diets. It has a shelf life of up to 2 years in cool, dark storage, and it has a naturally savory, slightly cheesy flavor that makes it genuinely enjoyable sprinkled over rice, mixed into soups, or stirred into almost anything. Most people in your neighborhood have never bought it, which means when everyone else is panic shopping, those containers of nutritional yeast are sitting completely undisturbed, waiting for you. Now let's shift to the foods that are built not just for months, but for decades. Hard winter wheat berries are about as close to a perfect long-term food storage item as exists anywhere. Stored in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers, they last over 30 years without meaningful degradation.
1 pound contains roughly 1,600 calories, and unlike wheat flour, which goes rancid within months even under good conditions, wheat berries retain their full nutritional value, including healthy fats and micronutrients, for as long as you store them. The versatility is extraordinary. You can grind them into fresh flour using a hand crank grain mill, which is a one-time investment of around $60 that pays for itself almost immediately. You can sprout them to produce fresh greens when no vegetables are available. You can cook them whole with a texture similar to rice or farro. You can even make wheatgrass juice. A 50-pound bucket of hard winter wheat berries is the single closest thing to a complete food security foundation that you can buy. Potato flour operates on a similar principle but fills a different role. It has a shelf life of up to 10 years when stored in airtight containers. It's naturally gluten-free, which matters because in a prolonged emergency, access to specialty dietary items effectively disappears, and not everyone has the luxury of ignoring that. It's high in resistant starch, which feeds healthy gut bacteria and keeps you feeling full significantly longer than regular refined starches, and it functions in cooking as a bread ingredient, a soup thickener, and a general-purpose flour substitute. The storage hack that takes it to another level is simple: food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids and oxygen absorbers. Gamma Seal lids allow you to open and reseal repeatedly without compromising the seal, which means you can actually use your supply and replace it without losing the ones you haven't opened yet. Textured vegetable protein, TVP, is one of the most underused items in the prepper world and one of the most impressive on paper. It's made from defatted soy flour, and it delivers 50 grams of protein per cup. It's sold in a completely dehydrated form, which means it's extremely lightweight, takes up very little space, and has a shelf life of 10 to 15 years in proper airtight storage.
When you rehydrate it, the texture closely mimics ground meat. You can use it in chili, in pasta sauce, in tacos, in anything where you'd normally use ground beef or turkey. A 1-pound bag costs around $6 and rehydrates into the equivalent of 3 pounds of meat. From a cost per gram of protein standpoint, almost nothing else in the prepper world comes close. Powdered milk is technically a conventional staple, but almost everyone stores it wrong, which dramatically shortens its useful life. The cardboard packaging it comes in from the store is not designed for long-term storage. Moisture infiltrates it, oxygen degrades the fats, and flavor deteriorates quickly. The solution is simple: repack it in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. Done properly, powdered milk stored this way can last 15 to 20 years while maintaining its calcium content, its protein, its vitamin D, and its ability to be used for drinking, baking, or even making simple cheeses and yogurt. If you have children, here's a practical tip that makes a real difference. Start mixing small amounts of powdered milk with regular milk in your everyday cooking right now. It lets your family adjust to the taste gradually, so that in an actual emergency, the transition isn't jarring, and you're not trying to get a stressed, tired kid to drink something that tastes unfamiliar while everything else is already hard. Now for 3 foods that most preppers have genuinely never considered. Chia seeds were used by Aztec warriors as a primary endurance food. They used them on long marches, in battle, and as currency. That's not marketing language, that's documented history, and the nutritional case for them in a survival context is remarkable. They contain more omega-3 fatty acids per teaspoon than a serving of salmon. They absorb up to 12 times their weight in water, which means they actively help your body retain hydration, something that becomes critically important when water access is uncertain. They form a gel in the stomach that slows digestion, dramatically extending the feeling of fullness and helping you stretch rationed portions further. They require 0 cooking. They have a shelf life of 5 years in vacuum-sealed containers, and they weigh almost nothing, making them ideal for any scenario where you need to move. Dried seaweed, nori, wakame, dulse, is a food that almost no Western prepper thinks about, and it fills a nutritional gap that most stockpiles don't even know they have. Iodine deficiency is one of the most common nutritional deficiencies to emerge during prolonged emergencies. The thyroid depends on iodine to regulate metabolism, energy, and immune function. Most emergency food staples contain essentially none. A single sheet of nori provides roughly your entire weekly iodine requirement.
Beyond iodine, different varieties of seaweed deliver protein, magnesium, calcium, and a range of trace minerals that virtually no other shelf-stable food can match. Japanese researchers have documented seaweed samples remaining edible after 1,000 years of storage. It requires no refrigeration, it takes up almost no space, and during any panic buying event, Asian grocery shelves remain fully stocked with it because most people simply don't know what it is. And finally, Asian market instant noodle blocks. Now, before you dismiss this one, hear the full case out. Not all instant noodles are the same. The varieties you find in Asian grocery stores, brands like Indomie, Nissin, and Samyang, are made with real wheat or egg-based noodles, and they contain 8 to 10 grams of protein per serving. The seasoning packets include genuine spice blends and dried vegetables, not just salt and artificial flavoring. They cook in minutes, require minimal water, travel well, and store easily in plastic bins. But the most important argument for them isn't even nutritional, it's psychological. A hot bowl of noodles with real flavor in the middle of a difficult and stressful situation does something for human morale that a bowl of plain rice simply cannot. It signals that things are manageable. It creates a moment of normalcy. It reminds the people around you that there's something to look forward to at mealtime. That psychological function is a genuine survival resource, and it's one most prep plans completely ignore. Having the right foods is only half the equation. The other half is making sure those foods actually last as long as they're supposed to, and that they're ready to use when you need them. The single most common and most costly mistake in long-term food storage is trusting original packaging. Most commercial food packaging is designed to protect food during transport and retail display, not for 5, 10, or 20 years of home storage. Cardboard boxes breathe. Thin plastic bags allow oxygen transfer. Original canisters often have imperfect seals, and moisture, oxygen, and light are the three forces that degrade shelf-stable food faster than anything else. The solution is complicated, but it does require intentionality. For most dry goods, flours, grains, legumes, TVP, powdered milk, chia seeds, Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers are the gold standard. Mylar creates an almost impermeable barrier against oxygen and moisture. Oxygen absorbers pull remaining oxygen out of the sealed package, eliminating the primary cause of oxidation and rancidity. Together, they can extend shelf life by a factor of 5 to 10 times compared to original packaging. For items you're accessing regularly, food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids are ideal. Gamma Seals allow you to open and reseal a bucket repeatedly without compromising the seal, which means you can actually use your supply instead of treating it like a museum exhibition that can never be.
For smaller items like bouillon cubes or nutritional yeast, airtight mason jars with silica gel packets accomplish the same goal on a smaller scale and keep things organized. Storage location matters just as much as the containers themselves. Heat accelerates almost every form of food degradation. Light triggers oxidation in fats and vitamins. Humidity feeds mold and bacteria. Ideally, your storage area should be consistently cool, below 65 degrees Fahrenheit if possible, completely dark and dry. Interior closets, basements, and temperature-stable pantries all work well. Garages and attics, which experience extreme temperature swings, are among the worst possible options for long-term food storage, despite being the places many people default to. Now let's talk about building this stockpile practically, because one of the biggest obstacles for most people isn't information, it's budget. The good news is that every single food on this list is genuinely affordable. Several of them are cheaper calorie for calorie and nutrient for nutrient than the conventional staples everyone else is stockpiling. The key is knowing where to shop. Asian grocery stores are the single most underutilized resource in practical prepping. Coconut milk, seaweed, instant noodles, chia seeds, and specialty grains can all be found there at prices that are often 30 to 50% lower than mainstream supermarkets. And as we've already established, these stores don't get cleared out during panic buying events the way mainstream grocers do. Health food stores carry nutritional yeast, TVP, ghee, and wheat berries at competitive prices, especially if you buy in bulk. Online suppliers, particularly those who specialize in bulk dry goods, can be even more cost-effective for larger quantities of items like wheat berries, potato flour, and powdered milk. The most effective way to build a meaningful stockpile without a large upfront investment is to treat it as an ongoing practice rather than a single event. Add a few items to your regular grocery run each week. Prioritize the foods that fill the biggest gaps in your current storage: fat sources, protein sources, micronutrients, before worrying about pure calorie volume. Start with a 2-week supply, then expand methodically to 30 days, then 90. A $50 shopping trip done strategically and repeated over a few months builds a genuinely serious pantry without ever feeling financially painful. And rotate. This is one of the habits that separates effective preppers from people who have a room full of expired food they'll never use. The rotation principle is simple. Use your oldest inventory first and replace it with fresh stock. This keeps everything within its optimal freshness window and means that your emergency supply is never sitting dormant. It's a living part of your household's food system. You're not just storing food, you're maintaining a resource. The final piece, and arguably the most important one that most guides completely skip over, is preparation. Storing food your family has never eaten is not the same as being prepared to use it. If a crisis hits and the first time your household encounters nutritional yeast or chia seeds or TVP is under stress, while scared, while exhausted, the unfamiliarity alone creates friction. Kids who are already unsettled won't eat something they've never seen before. Adults who are already anxious don't want to experiment with new flavors while managing an emergency. The solution is to start using these foods now, not occasionally, regularly. Cook wheat berries as a side dish the way you'd cook rice. Add nutritional yeast to pasta or popcorn. Make a coconut milk curry on a weeknight. Use TVP in a chili. Stir chia seeds into a smoothie. When these foods are already familiar, when your family already knows what they taste like, already has associations with enjoying them, then pulling them out in an emergency is seamless. There's no adjustment period, no resistance, no morale hit from eating something strange. That's the difference between a pantry that looks impressive and a pantry that actually functions when everything else has broken down. Real resilience isn't just about what you store, it's about knowing how to use what you have, being mentally prepared for the conditions under which you'll use it, and having built a system that sustains not just your body, but your household's ability to function, stay calm, and make good decisions when the pressure is on. The foods in this video are the foundation of that system. They're affordable, they're available right now, they're sitting on shelves that won't be emptied when the next crisis hits, and most people will walk right past them. You don't have to be one of those people. Start small. Start this week. Pick 2 or 3 items from this list, find your nearest Asian or health food store, and bring them home. Cook with them, learn them, store them properly, then build from there. The window to prepare is always right now, before the emergency, not during it. And the advantage has always belonged to the people who think differently before everyone else is forced to. If this video gave you a new angle on prepping you hadn't considered before, leave a comment below and let us know which food surprised you the most. Subscribe to Crisis Horizon for more strategies that go beyond the obvious, and we'll see you